Hey there, Kingdom Hearts fans. Welcome back to Dream Drop Long Distance, a podcast about two best buds playing through the Kingdom Hearts franchise and rekindling a little bit of that magic that we had the first time we played this game. As always, my name is Mitchell Orsino, and with me is my good friend Kyle Bradshaw. How you doing, Kyle?
My man, I am doing so great. My heart is full having replayed this moment of Roxas's life. I don't think I'll ever not be heartwarmed by this scene.
I completely agree. And because we have a lot to get into, let's jump right into it.
Right. So where we last left off was day 3. Roxas got mugged and missed the beach trip. That's the short version of that. And it is now time for the struggle tournament. They've been building up to this for a few days now, saying that, oh yeah, well, we got something coming up on that day. Ooh, they've been talking about this game struggle, but they haven't really shown it to us yet, other than these weird little sticks that they've been carrying around. But yeah, they introduce you to the struggle champion, Setzer, who is a character I learned from Final Fantasy VI.
Oh, cool. I was actually about to ask if I hadn't looked. The one note that I had is Setzer is obvious Final Fantasy eye candy, and Struggle looks extremely exciting.
Yeah, for despite having a name like Struggle, it actually is a very fun little mini game. Before you get there, though, they kind of recommend you to, one, maybe go get some more money and buy some potions because you lose health, and also, two, to get some experience, which the only way to do that is to fight Cypher a number of times in an alley. You just beat up a guy in the alley and take his experience.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I actually found myself having a little bit of difficulty in a little bit past this. And I was kind of like, man, I am under-leveled, but there's no way of gaining experience outside of this. And I ran into Cypher completely by accident, and was very glad that they put in that little bit of ability to gain experience points.
I completely agree with you, yeah, because I had gotten maybe 3 levels worth off of him, because I was just like, I don't know how strong I need to be, but let's just blow it out and have Roxas ready for whatever comes.
I did the exact same thing. I think I probably leveled 2 or 3 times, especially because when the struggle tournament, you wind up first round fighting as Roxas, your best friend, Hayner. And the technical of how this game works is that each opponent starts with basically a stockpile of 100 orbs. Each person has a particular color, usually one being red, one being blue. As you attack your opponent, each hit tends to drop a particular amount of orbs. If you hit with a full combo and a large attack at the end, your opponent will drop quite a large amount of orbs. And you have to basically run around and collect as many as possible from your opponent while keeping your own. So there actually is, and I think they actually tell you as you're listening to the moderator for the game, that it actually is a strategy to try to knock a certain amount of orbs off of your opponent and just run around. Basically try to just, because there is a timer, and whoever has the most at the end wins no matter what.
You can also get an instant win by getting all 200 orbs ahead of the timer running out.
Ah, okay, cool. I think I got close to 200, but I don't remember ever getting every single one.
Oh, okay. Well, then, you're not going to be happy about the things it's a good thing we're not competing on this one. You'd be upset. So
I'm pretty sure Hayner, I was about 3 or 4 shy. The next, as you wind up beating Hayner. The very next fight that you get into is actually, hilariously, the fight previous was Cypher versus his small friend Vivi. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to wind up fighting Cypher. No. Vivi is a little animal and winds up beating Cypher to Cypher's dismay, who is just like, that's not Vivi. Watch yourself. And you wind up fighting Vivi.
However, during the fight with Vivi, after you win, time freezes, and Vivi, right before your eyes, transforms into a nobody. And then out comes Axel.
Yeah, Axel, the tall, spiky, long, red-haired cloaked person that we know as a per chain of memories is a part of this organization.
So Axel is trying to get Roxas to remember him, trying to get Roxas to just come back home with him, it seems like. And he says, you really don't remember. Which just goes to show that, like, those scenes that we saw in the credits of Chain of Memories, those really happened. And at one point, Axel and Roxas really were close friends, like it indicated.
Yeah. And then it actually cuts to a scene where Roxas throws the Keyblade out of anger, and it comes back to him. And Axel looks at him and says, "Number 13, Roxas, the Keyblade's chosen one."
Yes, I love that one. We're learning more and more about the numbers. I feel like we need to start keeping track of them all, but at least to see as they're being revealed. Because I know if I just go to Google, it says who's all who, but it's interesting to, like, oh, okay, now we have this person's number, this person's number. It's like fun to imagine, like, the back in the day, the game FAQs way of just, like, being on forums and writing things down and taking notes the old-fashioned way, you know?
Yeah, I want to be 100%. I feel like the internet has spoiled us just a little bit in that way, because most of the time, by the time you go to do something, somebody's already beat you to it.
So with that, though, Axel just decides to fight Roxas because that's the easiest way to get Roxas to come back. But somehow, despite the fact that Roxas is only level 3 or 2 or what have you, somehow Axel goes down like a chump despite all of that. And that's when DIZ shows up too and starts interfering with what Axel is doing. And it just all goes to hell.
Yeah, DIZ shows up, pops up, and it's just like immediately starts yelling at Roxas, like, "Roxas, this man is speaking nonsense." And Axel's looking at him like, "Roxas, don't listen to him," like trying to get him to listen to his side of things. And Roxas is being torn between the two, and he looks up at the sky and just yells, "Hainer, Pence, Olette," and then it kind of breaks him out of this cycle of the time stop and what's happening between the three.
It's incredible in its own way that his heart seeking to return to his friends is seemingly able to have an effect on this presumably created world. That the power of that friendship is so strong to want to return to that.
Yeah, I think Roxas figured out DIZ's passcode.
Yeah, that's the password. That's a good idea. I'm going to try that. I'm just going to type Hainer Pence Olette next to Meta Computer.
Next time you want to just get out of this world for a little bit, just type that in. And then, so we wind up getting back, and I think the last part of this was you fight Setzer, and so you tell me, I actually, what is it? Did you beat him? Is a question.
So there's a little bit of intricacy with that question because he offers a better prize or something like, "Hey, throw the match, kid. It'll be all right." No, I did not throw the match. I got the champion's belt. I beat him 200-0, just like I did Hainer.
Gotcha. Okay. So for funsies, I actually, just to see what happened, I apologize. I lost to Vivi to see what happened, but nothing really happened. Setzer actually beat me the first time because my controller died, and
that's a good reason.
And so I didn't lose all of my orbs. My health dropped, and it's kind of this embarrassing moment where Roxas realizes that he just, he lost, and they wind up just getting like sea salt ice cream. And it's weird because the game winds up still giving you the champion's belt as an item.
No, they give you a medallion.
Or what was it? A medallion. I'm sorry. It's a medallion.
Yeah, there's 2 different items that you can get for whether or not you choose to beat Setzer. If you do beat him, you get the champion's belt, which gives you like 20% reduction on a bunch of elemental damage. Or if you lose, you get the medallion, which some people prefer because it gives you +1 attack.
There you go. Okay. I was like, I couldn't remember. I know it wasn't the Or did I say the champion's belt? Maybe I thought it was just the trophy. Like, for some reason, I remember being like, why did I still get this item?
Right. The trophy's yours no matter win or lose.
That's what it was. Okay.
No, I mean, it's an interesting little detail. It's a fun way that the story diverges a little bit, but still comes to the same conclusion. It's bold for a PlayStation 2 game. How about that?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. And I guess, so to make sure that we didn't have two different experiences, what happened to you after beating Setzer when your characters wind up going to the clock tower afterwards?
It's the same thing. They go for ice cream and they sit on top of the tower and they have the trophy. They take the little crystals off. They look at it in the sunset and then Roxas falls off the dang clock tower.
So just like you think for a second, because all of his friends are reaching out, you're like, wow, I think they just killed Roxas. Because he is falling off of like the equivalent of Big Ben. Like, this is not a small clock tower that these kids just go and chill up on.
Yeah, no, it's got to be 20 stories or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to tell from the outside. But no matter what, it's way too high for anybody to be falling off of, let alone a child.
Yeah. But as he's falling, you get this kind of like the world tweaking out. And then you hear a girl's voice.
Not just any girl. Yeah. I do believe that voice is Kyrie.
It is absolutely Kyrie.
Because it cuts over to Kyrie on the Destiny Islands.
And she has an entirely new look. Like, this is definitely an older Kyrie. She looks like she just maybe left school. And also the Destiny Islands, you can tell that we're not just on like their little play island. This is like a full village. Like, roads have been constructed and little hut homes. Very cute, very stylized place to live.
It's true. I really appreciate that they've fleshed out the Destiny Islands here rather than it just being the one little play island, which you can see in the distance. Because Selphie shows up and starts talking to Kyrie about missing Riku, but doesn't remember the other boy that they hung out with. And Kyrie won't go back to that island, which they kind of show off in the distance. Kyrie won't go back to that island until she remembers everything about Sora.
Yeah. And so I remember specifically whenever she's kind of trying to remember the other boy, do you hear the name Namine, kind of in a question mark, and Kyrie has a headache hearing that name. And in the same time, she kind of has this psychic conversation. She hears this psychic conversation between Roxas and herself, and they kind of introduce each other. And Kyrie's like, what's your name? And at that point, you actually hear a different voice, but a very familiar voice say, you don't remember my name? Wow, thanks a lot, Kyrie. And who is that, Kyle?
Well, Mitchell, I do believe, as he says, it starts with an S, which Kyrie is pretty quick to put back together after standing up from taking 10 psychic damage. She runs down the beach and says, starts with an S, right, Sora? More importantly, one detail that I really, really want people to pay attention to, like, do not forget this, put a little pin in this. Kyrie has a letter that she wrote before she remembered Sora's name. She puts it in a bottle and casts it out to sea. Just hold on to that. That's all I'll say.
And then right after that, we cut away to DIZ's lab. And DIZ claims to this hooded figure that Namine's interference allowed them all to talk. And he says that, like, Namine wasn't born like other nobodies. At which point the hooded figure says, well, whose nobody is she? And DIZ goes, well, I could say if you tell me your true name. At which point we finally get to find, like, the hooded figure pulls his hood back. And who is it, Kyle?
Somehow, some way, this hooded figure is Ansem, the big bad villain of the first game, Ansem, Seeker of Darkness. And all that happens is DIZ just laughs at the unveil. He just laughs.
Yeah, but you can't tell if he's laughing because he had guessed it and realized he got it right, or he's guessing because he was completely off.
Thankfully, we don't have to wait too long to learn what the real answer is. I have some thoughts here, but we don't have enough evidence to get into it yet. So we'll get there, though.
No.
We'll get there real soon.
No. But right after that, we are introduced to basically a meetup of the organization.
Yeah, we're back in that chamber of thrones with the 13 thrones, as I recall we counted. And Axel's fighting for one member to not be gotten rid of. It seems to be that he's been ordered to kill someone, which we can only assume that it's Roxas.
I mean, yeah, at this point, I feel like he keeps showing up to try to get Roxas to remember something or to try to convince him of something. And, he's trying to fight for this person. And then he just gets a lance hurled at the side of his head.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that character. I can't wait to get to explore a little bit more of them. I find, oh man, like that is a very powerful move though, and shows that the organization is taking this extremely seriously. Especially one line that really stood out to me was, "You who has been ruthless against those who turn their backs on the organization." Because it's true.
Yeah.
Axel killed Vexen and Zexion and basically led to Marluxia's death.
Yeah. And we don't see it, but the guy who throws this lance at him says that, like, you need to eliminate him. At which point Axel's just like, or you'll turn me into a dusk. At which point we're like, oh, I think that was the first time we're introduced to the idea that these organization members, when they die, they don't just disappear. They can be basically brought back as something that they do not like the idea of becoming.
I'm not so sure that that's the case. My current theory right now is that, like, maybe nobodies can be promoted and demoted or something like that. Like, that's why there's such a strong hierarchy in the organization and why people care what number one person is versus another. I feel like you can get promoted and demoted.
Ooh, I actually like that theory much better. I guess we'll see. Yeah, I don't really know that. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so you're thinking that, like, if whatever this dusk is, if they do a good enough job, maybe they can take over an organization spot.
Something like that, yeah, or at least become something higher than a dusk. I don't know what a dusk is yet, though, at this point, and I think we'll learn soon.
Sure. But that is actually the end of day 4.
Yeah, we go into day 5 now, where Roxas wakes up in his bed after having fallen off of the tower, and he goes to meet up with his friends, and they're kind of talking about the fact that, like, oh, geez, summer vacation's almost over. We never did our study. We have to do an essay. So they end up doing this whole big thing on what they call the 7 wonders of Twilight Town, which are just odd things happening around town that they hear stories and urban legends about.
Yeah, it seems like the kids have this independent study, which I think is hilarious that they've got an independent study, and they need to hop a train to get to the part of town that allows them to go and look at all of these things that have been reported.
Which is also just an excuse to give a little bit more of Twilight Town to explore, which I certainly appreciate. Though I will say I'm a little confused why this place can exist, but the beach can't exist, but I won't question DIZ's ways.
Hey, man. I mean, everybody will tell you water physics are the worst to try to animate.
That's true. That's why the Destiny Islands has only been on screen for seconds at a time thus far.
Yeah.
I will note, though, I think an important thing to note is that on the train, each of the kids, Hayner, Pence, and Olette each take out their crystal from the day before. And they talk about, or they don't talk about it, they just kind of like silently each hold up the crystal into the sunlight. And Roxas goes to do the same, and it's not in his pocket. Because he really did fall off of the building yesterday. And I think we even saw it in who is now Ansem's hand.
Yeah, he winds up kind of playing with it while talking to Diz at one point, and you realize, like, that did he push Roxas off a building?
I think it's the other way around. I think that this Ansem saved Roxas.
Okay, that probably makes way more sense.
Or something like that. I don't know how DIZ's simulation works. Like, I don't know, because seemingly time can pause at any time, but so far time has only paused in a way that Roxas can still perceive everything. I don't think it's paused in it. Well, then would we even know if time paused in a way that Roxas can't perceive? The questions. I'm going to stop.
All the questions. No, you're good. But so we get to the town and the kids are like, okay, let's spread out and start trying to investigate some of these stories. And yeah, I mean, they all had a little kind of cheeky, fun nature to them. I don't know if you want to jump into
I mean, I could
which one you did first.
Just a quick rundown. I went to the alleyway first. In the alleyway, like there's these like look like volleyballs that are flying out of the wall, and it's just a bug in DIZ's code or something that's causing these to just fly out of the wall at Roxas. And when Roxas finally gets to the back of the wall to investigate it, Pence just shows up and is like, "Oh, you threw that? Cool. All right, moving on," and just brushes his hands of it, and Roxas also just accepts it and walks away. I don't really understand what happened there.
Yeah, it happens a lot like this. One of the next ones is the story of the odd-numbered stairs, where the kids have heard a story that if there's a staircase that if you walk up one way and you walk back down it, the number is different. And they wind up realizing that it actually was just Cypher's little crony Rye who reported it, and he just kept miscounting.
The numbers are different every time, you know?
And that was by far the funniest one. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah, most of these aren't really worth the time, other than I will say like the animated bag, which is this bag that just was moving around on its own. The only thing that happened with the animated bag is that Roxas smothered a dog inside of a burlap sack.
We have to clarify what happened. So Roxas doesn't exactly smother. So this garbage bag looking thing is kind of running around, and you have to jump onto the bag and ride it for long enough. And I think and kind of like get it tired. And then you hop off, and then out comes this very small dog that you shouldn't have really been able to ride in the first place.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like Lassie. I'm so confused as to how any of this happened, or how that dog had that much energy and was able to move on the inside of the bag. All I'm saying is Roxas smothered a dog, and he needs to be reported to PETA. That's just what happened.
But the thing was, he didn't really smother a dog, because the moment they walk away, the dog turns into a nobody and then flies off.
Yeah, that's kind of the running joke here too. Like, even in the tunnel where there's like spooky noises coming out of the tunnel, and you go there and you find out that there's a bunch of VVs there. I don't know. And then like at the end, the real VV shows up, and then the real VV is a nobody too. When you look away, it's either bugs in DIZ's code or nobody's doing weird things. Those are the two explanations for everything happening here.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of them up until you wind up, basically everybody just decides that that's like, okay, let's go try to see the last one, which is something that happens around sunset, which is the mystery of the ghost train. And the kids are waiting on it, and Cypher actually shows up and makes fun of them for it, because he's like, you guys are idiots. There's no such thing as a ghost train.
I actually really love this little scene. This was such a great quote. Like, I almost want to, I hope that Cypher is actually like this in his Final Fantasy game, because if he is, I really want to go play it, because he's like, what are you doing? And Hayner's like, what do you care? And Cypher says, I don't. Tell me anyway. I love it. I don't know. It was such a great line.
He's such a fun character. At which point he also looks at Roxas and he goes, why does looking at you always tick me off? And Roxas goes, maybe it's destiny.
And he's just like, I'm not going along with destiny. Maybe we should be friends. Which that line didn't click with me the first couple times that I heard it. And I think today was the first, this playthrough was the first time that it made sense what he was trying to say. It was a weird concept.
Yeah. Well, then they actually wind up seeing this train, which, funny enough, and compared to all the other trains and rail cars that you've seen, is this kind of purple train with stars all over it, and the smokestack is a magic, like a wizard's hat that we've seen in the past. And they kind of freak out. And they're like, it's heading to the train station.
Well, not necessarily they. Only Roxas. Roxas is the only one who sees it because he's like, look. And he runs over to the rail or runs over to the edge and bends over and looks at it. And he's like, come on. And he runs off toward the station. Nobody else acknowledges it. They're gaslighting him at this point, which I think is only because only he sees it.
That's funny, though, because what I remember happening was they get to the train station and Roxas goes to get on the train, but Hayner stops him. But then, oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Yeah, and my next note was Roxas turns, that train has disappeared. And it's just a plain old train, at which point Hayner and his friends are like, all right, I guess let's go home. And Roxas is just like, what? Wait, what happened? How?
Yeah, because from Hayner's perspective, Roxas was just about to walk out onto the train tracks.
That's true. Okay, I guess my brain, I registered that as Roxas tried to get on a different train. And maybe Hayner was like, wait, don't get on that train. And then it was that was like a glitch moment to me. I thought that happened maybe, but your theory makes way more sense.
So with that though, that they head back home, only for Roxas to say that was only 6. Weren't there supposed to be 7 wonders? Hayner gets pissed and doesn't go, and Roxas is just like, well, what is it? Let's come on, and tries to get Pence to tell him, and Pence tells him that it's that there's something at the mansion, that the 7th wonder is something happening at the mansion.
Yeah, I think he specifically, they're like, people have said they've seen a girl in the window of the mansion kind of staring out. And you wind up going to the gate of the mansion. You can't get in, but you look up and you very blatantly see that it's Namine standing at the window.
And as soon as they lock eyes, they begin a Pokemon battle. No, hang on. As soon as they lock eyes, Roxas is transported inside of a white room full of pictures, like the ones that Namine drew during Chain of Memories. You can see that a lot of them are scenes of things that actually happened in Sora's life, except for one that shows Axel and Roxas hanging out together.
Yeah, which was, I was like, oh, so that's pretty wild. But you also see like a photo of Kairi and her charm. And Namine, after Roxas sees a picture of Axel and himself, she says that, yeah, you two are best friends. And he's just like, what? And then she shows him a picture of Sora and the gang, and Roxas knows all their names. At which point Namine tells Roxas that he is half of Sora, and Sora can't be whole without his help. And Roxas says, well, what do you know about me? And Namine says, you were never supposed to exist, Roxas.
Which is so sad. That's just like a terrible thing to say. And Roxas so says sad. That to him too. Or Roxas says that to her as well. It's like, why would you say that to me, even if it's true?
Yeah, but then like that kind of ends and we get transported back outside. And Pence shows up. And it's just like, oh, have you seen anything? And you look up and Namine's no longer there. And much like the last couple of wonders that we've seen, he goes, oh, well, I guess it just must have been the curtains moving. And then he just walks away, like no questioning it. And we're just like, hey, no. And that's it. And that's how that ends.
Roxas just does not stand up for himself, man. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's because he just keeps letting his friends down and he doesn't feel that he can speak up at this point, but it's so frustrating to watch him do this.
Right after that, we cut back into what looks like a destroyed living room. And Ansem looks at Diz and he goes, why did you show him the train? And Diz goes, well, because he missed his beach trip. Which is, I think, is hilarious. And Diz is like, well, are the holes in your memory coming back? And Ansem is like, yeah, they're slowly filling in. And Diz goes, well, it's happening to all of Sora's friends. To them, it'll be like he just left for a year. And Ansem's like, dude, what do you want? And Diz just looks at him and goes, revenge. But first, we must dispose of Namine. Roxas wasn't the only one who was never meant to exist. Take care of it, Ansem.
There are so many things that happen here. I don't even know how to unpack them all. Like, this Ansem having memory issues, all of those tied to Sora having memory issues, like Kairi having memory issues, not remembering Sora anymore. But at the same time, the last time that we saw Riku, he remembered everything that happened between him and Sora. Like, all throughout Reverse Rebirth, he never forgot Sora. He never forgot anything that happened between him and Sora, or at least it was never exposed publicly that this happened. Like, so I don't understand.
I don't know
who this is or how this is happening, or if this is just like a minor plot hole between Chain of Memories and 2. I'm so confused, Mitchell.
I don't know. I honestly, Riku to me, is kind of the odd man out here. So right after that, we get kind of the fizz out TV static effect, and all we hear is restoration at 97%, which we're like, ooh, 97%. That is very close to 100, Kyle.
I know, I don't know what to do. It's so close. Like, clearly Sora almost has all of his memories back. I mean, we had already seen, we didn't talk about this at the top of the show, but there was a moment where scenes from Sora's life were playing out, and we saw things like Kairi. The name Kairi was spoken aloud when it hadn't been before. Like, we're really seeing the end game. Like, they even showed a little clip from The Unknown. Right now, in this moment with the restoration, they show all the little things that happen at End of the World up until the intro to Chain of Memories, where it cuts. So I don't know. Yeah. I think Sora might be ready.
But then it cuts, and we're back at the black sand beach with the kind of like black hole looking background and the two cloaked figures. And one of them comes up and it says, "I've gone to see him." And the other one goes, "He looks a lot like you."
Or yeah, this same guy, he says that. He's like, "I've been to see him. He looks a lot like you." It goes through that whole scene again. And finally, at the end, or at least the next line that's spoken, you hear that the other hooded figure is Roxas.
Yeah. And then we actually cut away to one of the very dope animatic we see a twin Keyblade wielder. This is the first time we've seen a Keyblade wielder using two Keyblades at the same time.
No.
Fighting off a...
No.
Oh, no? I thought it was.
It is not, because if you remember, this is just replaying...
Oh, it's from the end of Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yeah, they're replaying that neon fight scene from the secret ending, and it's got the same dual-wielding Keyblade wielder with Oblivion and Oathkeeper.
Well, no, yeah, but you're right. You're completely right. I misspoke. But in this scene, we see that this individual throws a Keyblade at this blindfold-wearing, long blue-haired character. But the long blue-haired character catches that Keyblade. They fight for a bit. The blue-haired character goes down. And he looks at this hooded figure, and he goes, "Why? Why do you have the Keyblade?" And the Keyblade wielder looks at it and just goes, "Shut up!" And he swings on the guy. But we don't see it ever hit. It actually cuts away to Roxas in bed.
But before that, Mitchell, who are these voices? We know these voices. Who are these people, Mitchell?
Oh, the voices it's Riku and Roxas.
It's Riku and Roxas. Why is Riku wearing a blindfold? Why is Riku wearing a blindfold? Why is Roxas fighting Riku?
I do not. We do not know at this point. Yeah, I do not know why Riku is wearing a blindfold. I dig his new look, and it definitely looks like he's gotten taller.
As if he needed to be any taller than Sora again. But sure,
I know.
Yes, he did indeed get taller.
But so Roxas wakes up, and now we are on the next day, and he gets out of bed. But unlike other days, as he steps out, we start to see a familiar silhouette kind of ghost form around him. And we see Sora.
Yeah, it's almost like Roxas thinks that he is Sora, or his body is realizing that it is Sora, or something strange like that.
Yeah, but he gets out of bed, and we go. He heads to his gang's hideout, and as he walks in, no one notices him enter. They're all kind of talking and laughing, and he's just like, okay. He's like, "Hey guys," and nobody's paying attention. And he goes to reach out, but his hand goes through Hayner. And he freaks. He's like, "What? But then they all get up and they go to leave and they run through him like he is completely a ghost at this point.
Roxas, more like Patrick Swayze. I'm going to cut that joke. That was awful. Moving on.
That was bad.
Yeah. At this point, Roxas goes down and sees photos nearby. Roxas bends down, he picks up a photo off of the ground, and like something out of Back to the Future, he's no longer in the photos with his friends.
Yeah, it's pretty, you can tell, and at this point, he's just like, what is going on? And he steps outside, and he's met by two Dusks and Axel.
Yeah, it seems like Axel's been ordered to destroy Roxas or return him to the organization. And at this point, DIZ steps in, tells Roxas to go to the mansion, and stops time altogether to prevent him from having to fight Axel, who just kind of stays locked like that. I think even the music stops, which is a weird moment, but it also kind of makes sense because this is a very tense moment. You don't want to have the dee-doo-dee-doo-dee-dee going that whole time.
No, yeah. So DIZ winds up pausing time. Roxas yells out the name of his friends like we've seen him do in the past to kind of break back into his reality. But unlike last time, Axel's still there, but he's still just completely frozen in place.
This moment's really sad to me because you can see that Roxas misses his friends, but Axel misses his friend. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Axel, Axel actually is like, I hate being the one sent to destroy you. And Roxas is like, wait, we're best friends. Or we're best friends? And Axel looks delighted. And he goes, wait, you remember now? Okay, wait, what's our boss's name? And he realizes that Roxas can't remember. And Roxas then, almost out of fear, just summons his Keyblade. And you can see it just completely crushes Axel. That he's like, oh man, you don't remember still.
Yeah, and he just puts it away. And that is the moment when DIZ steps in and pauses everything. So Roxas makes his way to the mansion, and there's a fun little moment here where he's like, you're going to lock me out? How lame is that? I don't know why they decided to go through all this, but they decided to have Roxas remember through Sora's memories that, oh yeah, I'm holding an enormous key. Let me just put the key in the lock. And
yeah, I think he runs up to the door. The Dusks are surrounding him and he just yells, don't call me, then lock me out. It's so funny. And then, yeah, he uses like the Keyblade door unlocking laser beam to open the gate. And he runs in, but before the Dusks can follow to attack, a hooded figure appears holding the Soul Eater sword, which you definitely recognize as the like blue and red Batwing type sword that Riku has used during the majority of the games.
Right, so that leads me to the question though, Mitchell, does that mean that this is Ansem? Because he's the only other hooded figure that we've interacted with in this digital thing of Twilight Town. Axel has been one, and then there's been this mysterious figure who's introduced himself as Ansem.
I was wondering the same thing, but I don't know. I just don't know.
I mean, Riku and Ansem have a very challenging relationship, as we have been through in Reverse Rebirth. Supposedly Riku had gotten Ansem out of his system, had defeated him once and for all, but also claimed the power of darkness for him. I don't know. But we wind up getting into the mansion, and it's very rundown, broken furniture. We explore a bunch of rooms. We do find some potions and some other little items and trinkets. And we go upstairs, and we actually wind up finding Namine's white room. Inside of which there's a drawing of Roxas in that neon city that we saw both in that cutaway a couple minutes ago and in the secret ending. And seeing that drawing, he immediately takes 10 psychic damage and remembers pieces of the day where Axel persuades him not to betray the organization. Yeah, Axel questions if he's really leaving, and Roxas is like, well, I have to figure out why the Keyblade chose me. And Axel's like, you can't turn on the organization. Roxas snaps back into the room and sees Namine, and he winds up telling him, he's like, Organization 13. They're a bad group.
So this is the first time I think we've actually heard them called Organization 13.
That is correct. That's what I have in my notes too. They haven't named it like that before. So that definitely implies that Roxas was at the bottom of the hierarchy of the organization.
Yeah. And Namine looks at him and goes, bad, good, I don't know. But they're a group of incomplete people who want to be whole. And what they've been searching for is Kingdom Hearts.
Just like Ansem was searching for Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. At which point Roxas laughs and it's just like, I think I've been running from the question I want to ask. What's going to happen to me now? And DIZ wipes Namine completely off the map. Just completely digitizes her away.
Watching that effect, it looked like she got Thanos snapped. I was like, Namine is dead. I'll never see her again. Okay, dang.
I thought I was like, wow, DIZ, when he said like she has to be eliminated, he did not pull a punch.
No joke. And did it himself too, rather than having Ansem do it.
Yeah, and this was the next, like, Roxas actually yells at him. He's like, I have a right to know. And DIZ looks at him and goes, a nobody doesn't have that right. It doesn't even have the right to be. And I was like, oh, that is brutal.
Okay. So it's been revealed by DIZ that Roxas is a nobody. So let's talk about this for a second, Mitchell. With the clues that we have right now, whose nobody is Namine?
She's got to be Kyrie's, right?
I agree. Okay, second question. Whose nobody is Roxas?
I mean, at this point, we have to assume it's Sora.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. Now we kind of got the pieces being put together. They've given us enough information to kind of figure all this out, and it's so cool, especially since it was already kind of a hint because Roxas was part of Organization 13, and all of the organization members we've met thus far have been nobodies. So it was kind of already implied, but now it's confirmed, and that's really cool to me.
Yeah. And Namine actually, it's so funny, she kind of like phases back in and is like, Roxas, nobody's like us are only half a person. You won't disappear. You'll become whole. And DIZ opens up a portal and just like, come here, and just pulls her into it. And they disappear. Him and Namine go through one portal. Ansem disappears through his own little kind of teleportation.
Leaving Roxas by himself in Namine's room. With Namine's closing words being that she and Roxas will meet again, and they may not recognize one another, but they will meet again.
Yeah.
So as I was kind of standing in this white room, which you're now freely able to explore for the first time, I noticed a couple little interesting tidbits. For one, in all of the drawings that are around, the only Disney-themed world that appears in one of the drawings is Neverland. All the other ones are Destiny Islands, Traverse Town, Hollow Bastion, that neon world that we haven't been to yet. There's only one Disney world, and that's Neverland. I don't know why that is. I guess that's just because that was where Riku took Kyrie way back when. I don't know. That's the only Disney world, which was weird to me. The other thing that I noticed in this game, they've changed the way that the menu looks depending on the location that you're in, which is usually that each world has its own unique theme to the command area, where like attack, magic, items, and all that sort of thing. In this one particular room, in this one white room, the command area is rethemed to look like Castle Oblivion, including you showing a little card logo for the selector. And I thought that was an odd and fun detail that they decided to include here.
Oh, wow. I don't think I found that, or I didn't notice it.
Because all of the rest of Twilight Town all looks the same, except for that one room. And I thought that was so interesting that they decided to include that detail. I guess to just try and call into the throwback there. I mean, I don't even know if we can go back into that room now, but I guess we'll find out.
Maybe. You wind up going into the second room in that area, and I thought this part was kind of weird. Basically, you walk in, and there's this table, and it's got like a part of a drawing on it, and somehow Roxas remembers or has an idea of what to draw on the table.
Okay, so this is because Namine left behind some drawings or something like that. There's like a sketchbook that you get that gets added to your essential items, as it were.
Oh, okay. And so, yeah, so he walks up to this table, grabs a little chalk, pencil, whatever, and he finishes drawing this symbol on the table. And was it the Trinity? Is that what that? I could not remember what this thing was. But basically, this symbol then spreads out in a circle of light across the table, then across the floor, then across the room, and it completely opens up where the floor used to be is now the entrance to what you can only assume is DIZ's lab.
Yeah, so the symbol, it wasn't quite the Trinity, though it's the same kind of idea because it's, 3. But as I recall, one of the symbols was the heartless symbol. The second one, the one that Roxas drew was was a crown. I don't really know what the crown symbol is for.
Not sure either.
And the third symbol, the other one that was already drawn, was the symbol that can be seen on the heads of those nobodies that we've been fighting.
Huh. So you're kind of seeing all of the... Weird. Okay. I have to really go back and look at that.
It should still be in your like important items or whatever that inventory is called.
Okay. Cool.
So,
but then all of a sudden Roxas gets another headache.
Yeah, it takes 10 more psychic damage being down in DIZ's computer room.
Yeah, and we are introduced to a scene where you're back on the high throne room of the organization, and we see all of the organization members, that new ones, old ones from Chain of Memories, and the very last one that we see sitting among them is Roxas.
Number 13, Roxas.
And then we cut away from that, and we see we're back in this, neo-future city. Roxas is running from nobodies. We see Riku, and he's like, why do you have the Keyblade? And Roxas goes to strike him, but Riku counters it. And we're all of a sudden back in the lab, and DIZ claims to Ansem that Roxas has half of Sora's power within him. And he goes, in the end, he'll have to give it back, because that is the fate of a nobody.
Right, and in this moment, this is when DIZ starts to create this simulated version of Twilight Town and create this false persona that Roxas gets to live through. I do think it's super interesting that this moment, this is the earliest memory that we have of Ansem and DIZ interacting together.
Yeah, this is at first I thought it was happening in real time. Then I realized oh no, this is showing, because they show that Roxas is inside of that little chamber.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that's all kind of being played out. But the gist is that they're showing that, Roxas was kidnapped from his life, thrown into a town with false memories, and used to just buy Namine time to restore Sora's memories.
But then Roxas wakes up and he gets pretty PO'd and just starts beating DIZ's computer system with his Keyblade and breaks it to pieces.
It looks like something out of Office Space. I'm really impressed with the damage that he's able to do here.
It was pretty funny. And, after he kind of winds down, you see that a door is opened. And, you go in and you wind up actually fighting a bunch of nobodies. But then who shows up?
My man Axel is back. And, of course, now that Roxas remembers everything and actually remembers everything, now it's too late and Axel's pissed and just goes into a fight.
Well, one of my favorite lines so far, Roxas goes, Axel. And Axel goes, you do remember me this time. I'm so flattered. And then just the entire arena erupts in flames.
What a guy. Oh, he's so cool. And so in this moment, the tension leads Roxas to remember how to wield 2 Keyblades. Once again, confirming that he's our man from earlier. Which I love that Axel just responds, 2? That's such an anime line. I love it.
It's so funny. Roxas, in just this very smooth, awesome look, pulls the Ultima and the Oath Keeper, and Axis looks at him and goes, 2? And you get into a fight.
I didn't have too much trouble with this fight, despite being on critical mode. I think I may have beaten up Cypher a little too much.
Yeah, I didn't really have much of an issue with this one either. But it is an awesome fight, because Axel's doing, basically through description, he's doing some of these teleportation moves, coming in and out of the firewalls, and you're able to block and run the controls we talked about earlier, or if you time it correctly, you get these kind of animatic fight choreographies that happen where you run along the wall fighting one another. It's such a pretty fight. But overall, the moment you pull out 2 Keyblades, there's not much of anything Axel can do to you.
And just think we're being this cool right at the beginning of the game. It can only get cooler, right?
I know. I'm so excited.
But with that, Axel goes down, and seemingly on death's door, he expresses a wish to see Roxas again, quote, in the next life.
So Roxas says, let's meet again in the next life, and Axel says, silly, just because you have one, and then he fades away. It's
a weird thing, though, because, I don't know, I feel like something went a little wacky with the translation here, because Axel definitely was the first one to say, in the next life. Roxas agrees, and then Axel's like, silly, just because you get one, which is like, why did you were the one who suggested it. I don't understand. It was a weird moment for me. But overall, still, top 10 character.
Yeah. And then probably, I think, one of the saddest moments up to this point, there is a quick scene right before then where you're back in that, futuristic city, and Axel looks at Roxas and is like, if you get on their bad side, they'll destroy you. And Roxas, very, emo, is just like, no one would miss me. Goes to walk away, and Axel just very quietly goes, I would. Dude, that broke my heart.
Oh my goodness, my man. There is a game that I can't wait for you to play, but we'll get there. We've got a ways to go.
I have no doubt. So we leave this room after Axel has kind of disappeared, and we walk into this hallway full of what we see as stasis pods. And who do we see in those pods, Kyle?
So I want to talk about this room for a second, but to answer your question directly, you see our boys, Donald and Goofy.
Yeah, buddy.
I was so excited to see them. Oh my God. It's like, yes, my boys, we're finally getting somewhere. But I want to talk about something here. Because, For one, there are way more pods than there probably should be.
Yes.
There are some that are unused, but there's also, if you investigate each one, it says something a little different. And one says, there's evidence this was used before.
Ooh.
On who? When? I don't understand.
Who knows?
And the worst part is there's probably an answer to that question in some side game that we'll get to in like a year from now.
I mean, probably.
So
wow. Yeah, I think that might have been the only one that I missed.
So, it's kind of like over way on the left side. Because there's newer ones that haven't been used off to one side of Donald and Goofy. And there's like some that, look older. I don't know.
But so Roxas gets through that after recognizing who Donald and Goofy are. And he walks into the flower chamber that is, I say the flower chamber, kind of the sleeping chamber where we know that Sora is. And when he walks in, he's greeted by DIZ, who looks at him and just goes, "You've arrived. The Keyblade's chosen one." And Roxas looks at him and goes, well, who are you talking to? Me? Or Sora? He goes, okay, half of Sora then. You reside in darkness. I need someone who can wander the realm of light and defeat Organization 13.
Okay. I need to interject here. So Here's my thought. DIZ, previously in a conversation with Ansem /Riku /whoever that was, said that his primary goal was revenge. That's what he was trying to do, was to get revenge. Now he's saying that his primary goal is to eliminate Organization 13. I believe that implies that he's trying to eliminate them as his form of getting revenge. That's what getting revenge looks like to him, eliminating the organization.
I guess so.
I'm just wondering what could the organization have done that he needs to get revenge for?
I don't really have a full guess just yet.
I agree. It's just an open question for the future.
Yeah. But Rox looks up and goes, who are you? And he doesn't even give him a full answer. He just says, I am a servant of the world, which makes you a tool at best. And I'm just like, damn, this dude is just rude.
I know, I like that. He calls him a tool. That's so funny. I really liked that, Roxas is like, I hate you so much. And DIZ is just like so cool about it. Like, I hate him, but also this is a cool line. You should share some of that hatred with Sora. He's far too nice for his own good. Like,
yes.
What? Like, telling him to give this anger and hatred, imbue that into Sora so that he stops being so nice and Disney-esque. I love it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's just kind of past that, and he has a purpose, and he's just like, I have my goal, and nothing is going to get in the way of that, and I'm just going to tell you how it is. And Roxas just gets mad, then tries to attack DIZ. And DIZ is like, oh, sorry, I'm actually not here. This is just a projection. At which point Roxas just gets even more angry and just keeps attacking it until it disappears. And then it just reappears behind him, and Roxas just says, I hate you so much.
Yeah. Ugh. And
it's so...
What a moment.
And I'm sorry if you just...
It's okay. We went a little out of order. It's good, though. It's fine. It's fine. These things all happen. And so, with that, though, with all that out of the way, Roxas goes to open the pod and reveals Sora inside. And he says, Sora, you're lucky. Looks like my summer vacation is over. And then just shows Kingdom Hearts 2. The title card.
Yeah, we hear this. It's everything kind of fades. And then we hear this music build up. And we are greeted by the title card of the game we've been finally waiting to play.
Right. It's like, oh, okay, all of that was just the prologue. Time to play the actual game now. Ah! I love it. I love it so.
So excited to actually... I mean, don't get me wrong, the Roxas storyline is great. I love it. But being able to finally jump into the meat and potatoes of this game, very, very exciting.
I mean, we've been going at this for 3 weeks now. Like, I think that as a kid, I probably spent maybe 3 hours at most playing through all of this, let alone, and even then, even that feels like a stretch because there's no way I was playing on Critical. So probably closer to like 2 hours maybe. But we spent more than that just talking about it. And that's so, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to get into it.
Oh God. Okay. Because I know, have you started? Yeah, I've started it a little bit. I didn't get far.
Yeah, I got to the first little save point right after, because there was no way to save after Roxas's story ends. You have to get to a certain point and then you can save. So yeah, I've been a little bit, but I'm holding back.
I think, yeah, that's it. That is the end of that little storyline. And next week, when we come back, we are going to be starting with the return of Sora.
And that's going to be the name of the episode for sure. No, it's not. But yeah, I'm so excited to get to play Sora again. Oh my gosh. Like, I want to hear Donald Duck's voice again, Mitchell.
I don't know if that's why I'm excited about it, but to each their own. But on that note, it's been a long one. So we appreciate everybody sticking with us, but we really wanted to get through this one and to get to the next chapter.
Well, yeah, man, I think that I think you're absolutely right. This is a good point to stop. And I think we can revisit this maybe next week. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in and for, in a certain sense, being patient with us and following along with us as we take this game slowly to really savor it rather than power through like we would want to do.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, my name is Mitchell Orsino. Kyle, always great and looking forward to it, man.
Absolutely. See you all next time.
Bye-bye. Hey there, Kingdom Hearts fans. Thanks for listening to the episode. Dream Drop Long Distance is hosted by Mitchell Orsino and Kyle Bradshaw and is produced by Kyle Bradshaw. Our theme music was written and recorded by Alex McLean.